going to turn on the record button. I will record this and send it to Chris so that you all can access it after today if that is helpful for you. But welcome to the scoring training for the City of Lee's Summit. This is, to me, a fun piece of the implementation process. And just for kind of a high-level overview, I'm going to do a very brief review and refresh of what priority-based budgeting is and the steps that you've already accomplished, and then where we're going to go from here. We're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into the results that have been identified for your city and the basic program attributes that we use to further describe programs. We're going to look at how the scoring happens in the tools. We're going to go through some practice scoring, and then we'll talk a little bit more about what the next steps are and how you can reach out to me if you need to. If at any point there seems to be confusion or questions, please let Chris know to stop me so that you all can ask your questions and get the information that you need. Okay, so we'll first start with this very brief review and refresh of what priority-based budgeting is. So when I was on site back in June, we first covered these 3 questions that help to describe what is PBB. The 3 questions are, what do we do, what does it cost, and why are we in business? And we answer these questions in the tools by identifying and describing programs to help tell the story of what you do in the City of Lee's Summit. Then we allocate all of the line item costs from the budget to those programs. And today we're going to focus on the alignment to results or to your strategic plan through the scoring process. So to dive a little bit further into that piece of it, so what are results? We have gone through a process with the team of super users or the team of leaders from the City of Lee's Summit who are working on this project to identify the priorities of your city. We have done that by looking through your strategic plan, your business plan, survey results, and we have identified a set of results that we will be using to evaluate your programs against. We will also use 5 basic program attributes that come from the ResourceX side of things. These 5 attributes are mandate, reliance, demand, population served, and cost recovery. These are meant to further describe the programs in ways that we have found to be important and helpful as you go to take action on the data. We will evaluate all of the programs in your inventory against a set of results and the BPAs to determine an alignment to the priorities that have been described for your city. Again, the results are going to be specific to your organization. They help to, once we've gone through the evaluation and alignment process, they help to answer the questions, what programs would you want to increase service level to? Where would you want to allocate new or found resources? Where can you reallocate resources from? And then looking at how much of the budget is going towards specific priorities within that set of results. Again, the basic program attributes are used to further describe programs. So are you mandated or required to offer the program? Are you the only one in the area who offers this type of service? Has there been an increase or decrease in demand for a certain program over time? Are there any specific revenues that could be tied to a program? And we think of those as fees for services or grants that could be tied directly to a program. And then who is benefiting from the program? Which part of the population is being served? So that's just kind of the basic 3 questions of PBB. Then if we dive kind of into the why of why are you doing this? Priority-based budgeting is a recognized best practice for GFOA, ICMA, and Alliance for Innovation. The purpose of priority-based budgeting is to create a new set of data that could help you to guide your organization and help make decisions. We consider it a planning and decision-making tool. It's a new way to look at your budget, and the final product is going to be a prioritization of the services that you offer to the results that you have identified. So we have identified the services that you provide. We have linked the costs from your budget to those services. And today we're going to work to help link those programs to the results so that you can use this to help with funding decisions and to help identify opportunities. One of the tools that we use once we get through scoring is the PBB blueprint. This is going to directly tie to the BPAs or basic program attributes. And once we get through scoring, there will be some tools that will help, but this directly ties to how we score those basic program attributes. So, do you have new needs? If so, what options do you have for accomplishing those new needs? Could you free up and reallocate resources from one program to another? Or could you find some new revenue to help cover that cost? How could we accomplish these things? And looking at the freeing up and reallocating resources side of things, you could look at how you source that program. Are there volunteers or partnerships that you could look at? Are there efficiencies that could help you to apply the program differently? Could you look at increasing or decreasing service levels in order to free up and reallocate resources? Then we always have the generate new revenue side. Are there fees for the program you offer? If so, do we need to look at the fee structure? Are there grants that could be applied to specific programs? And then the last resort would be looking at taxes and rates. Another deliverable that we will have once we finish the scoring phase of PBB is a present site that ties your programs to your results. So you'll see the boxes on the screen are the size of the program determines the size of the box, and the color is associated with how well that particular program aligns with a specific result. So you'll see we're on the neighborhood and housing result area, so the darker the pink, the more in alignment. And you will have this tool available to you once we complete scoring. If you are looking to use the data as it is right now, there are ways for you to go ahead and do that. So we can switch from this view that you all are probably very familiar with from allocating your costs. So we can switch from the allocation view to the program cost view by using this button in the middle. That will toggle you from the cost type view to the program cost view. You can then begin to say, you know, that program feels like it looks too big, or I feel like there are some things missing from this program, and you can dive in and go back in and check your allocations, see where there might be some opportunities, but you can go ahead and use that data today. As we consider what you all have accomplished and what we have left to do, you have gone through the identification of programs and the assigning of value. Your super user team worked very hard to get the results identified and defined so that we could start this self-assessment phase, which is what we're going to do today. And then we'll move into peer review. Once we have peer review done, your super user team and your leadership team will again look at those final scores as we get to the overall alignment. The overall alignment is significant because it's going to help you identify where to look, but this is not meant to identify programs that are not worthwhile or programs that can't be touched. This is meant to simply help identify where there might be some opportunity. So once we get through that overall alignment, all of the programs will have a quartile assignment. Quartile 1 are going to be those programs that are more aligned with the priorities against which we are evaluating today. And quartile 4 are going to be those programs that are less aligned with the priorities and the results that we are scoring against today. When we think about quartile 1 and 2 programs, we ask the question, would increasing funding allow for a more positive impact to the community? When thinking about quartile 3 and 4 programs, a question that we sometimes ask is, would it be possible to reallocate time or funds away from these programs to a new or existing program in higher alignment with our priorities that have been set for this project? Okay, that was again the briefest high-level overview of priority-based budgeting. And now we're going to jump into what you all are here to learn about today, which is scoring. We're going to talk about scoring against the results, and then we'll look at scoring against the basic program attributes. So when we think about the final score that's going to help determine that overall alignment, we look at the results as the connection to the strategic plan, the program attributes that help with decision making with the blueprint, and all of that's going to contribute to the overall alignment. Again, the results and the definitions associated with those results are unique to your city. The results are higher level and they are less likely to change over time. And while they are unique to your city, we do certainly have a common thread of safety, economy, infrastructure, recreation and culture, quality and affordable place to live and work, things like that tend to repeat themselves in organizations. And then we have the definitions, which are much more unique to each city or organization. So these are going to be the definitions you are going to use as you go through the scoring process, and you can use them by saying, when a program accomplishes this definition, this result is achieved. And we're going to do some practice of how to apply those definitions in just a few slides. Just a reminder for anyone who has stepped away from PBB or is new to PBB, we have two types of programs. We have governance programs and we have community programs. So we have to have the two types of results as well. So governance programs are going to be scored against governance results, and community programs are going to be scored against community results. Just as a brief glimpse, this looks a little bit overwhelming because it fills the screen, but this is your set of community results. So we have strategic economic growth and development, strong neighborhoods, cultural and recreational amenities, community health and well-being, infrastructure and transportation, and safe and secure community. We'll put those into practice in a little bit, but just a very brief overview there. And these are your governance results. So these are more internally focused, and these are going to be the program or the results that we score the governance programs against. They are stewardship, communication and engagement, forward thinking and innovation, transparency and accountability, customer service, and high performing org. So what we're going to ask of you today is to take those results and apply them to the programs within your own department. You are the subject matter experts for the programs within your own department. And we're going to ask you to go through and self-assess all of your programs against those results, with determining whether they are a score of 4, which means they are essential to the successful achievement of the result, all the way down to minor, and we even have a 0 for none. If there's just no influence on the successful achievement of that result, or minor influence, that'll be a lower score of a 0 or 1. A couple of quick tips for how to apply the results to your programs. The first is to read each definition out loud and decide whether or not the program meets the definition. So does the program influence most of the definitions? If yes, we're considering a higher score. If no, we're considering a lower score. The second tip is, if this program was taken away, would it significantly impact the ability to achieve the result? If this program going away would make it harder to achieve the result, then it's going to be a higher score. If it going away doesn't significantly impact the ability to achieve the result, then we're looking at a lower score. Again, this first step of department scoring is incredibly important because, again, you all are the ones who know your programs best. One thing that I'm going to mention here, and I will mention it several more times, is as this subject matter expert for your programs, it is so important as you go through the scoring process to make sure that your program descriptions adequately describe what the program is and does, and that when you do determine a score for your program, that you enter a comment that helps to justify that score. As we get into peer review, which is the next phase of scoring, it's going to be really helpful to those to understand from your perspective what that program is and does and why you assigned a certain score to that program. Okay, moving along, let's just take a brief look at the basic program attributes. Again, these are going to help with the decision making that's tied to the blueprint. Just so you all know, we do assign different weights to the results. So the weights for the results that are specific to the City of Lee's Summit are going to be weighted a 3, whereas the basic program attributes are going to be weighted a 1, with the exception of mandate, which has a weight of 2. That is simply so that we can use the basic program attributes to be helpful in describing the programs, but the alignment with your strategic plan and business plan is going to be the most important piece of the scoring process. So we have a set of results for governance programs, and we have a set of results for community programs, but all programs are going to be scored against the BPAs. And just to introduce the BPAs again, mandate, reliance, cost recovery, demand, and population served are those 5 basic program attributes. The difference between the way we score results and the way we score basic program attributes is simply the definition changes across the basic program attributes. So instead of essential to no influence, each one of those values has a specific definition. And we will do some practice with BPAs as well. So to introduce scoring in online PBB, we're going to just walk through the basic scoring operations. So for those of you who participated in the program identification and the cost allocations, this dashboard is nothing new for you, but we will have this third icon for program scoring. You'll click on that, and then we have 2 scoring methods. One, you can score by program. This is taking one program and scoring it against all of the results. My recommendation to you is, if you choose this path, is to have the results and definitions somewhere easily accessible for you to reference. And again, just a reminder to use comments to help support your score. The second option is to score by result. So this is to score all programs against one result. Neither way is correct or incorrect. It's whichever way you want to move through the process, if you want to go program by program or if you want to go result by result. In the tools to make that designation, when you click on that scoring icon, this is going to be the screen you land on. You will see 2 tabs. We're going to start with scoring by program. So you select the scoring by program tab, and then to find the programs that need scores, you have several options. You can filter by result type. So in that first drop-down, you could select basic program attributes, governance, or community. You can click on the headers on the top of each column to sort the programs that way, or you can search by keyword in the box. You can also simply scroll up and down. You'll click Update next to the program that you want to score. That's going to pull up what I call the scorecard or report card. So first, you want to make sure you're seeing the right set of results. So if you think that a program is pulling up community results and you thought you were going to see governance results, it's a good question to ask of your super users. You'll enter the scores in this column. All of the scores have to be a numeric value of 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. If you enter a question mark or NA or anything like that, when you go to save, it will return an error. You'll see over here is where we can enter those comments that help to support and validate the scores that you have entered. One thing that I would like to remind you numerous times, and if I was on site, I would say it 100 times while you were going through this, but please remember to click Save Scores. Our software does not automatically save, so if you close out of the scorecard and you have not clicked Save Scores, both your comments and your scores will be gone. So please remember to click Save Scores. The next way to interact with the scoring process is the Scoring by Result. So you'll select the Scoring by Result tab, choose the results that you want to see, so community, governance, or basic program attribute, and then you'll simply click on the red bar. This is going to be very similar to what you experienced in cost allocations. The bars are going to stay red until everything has a score, and then it will turn green. So if we click on Infrastructure and Transportation, it will pull up this scorecard. So this scorecard has the result at the top and all of the supporting definitions listed below. Here, you will do just very similar to what you did on the previous one. You'll enter scores in the score column. You'll enter comments in the comment column, and then you'll click Save Changes. Again, please remember to click that Save button. Okay, those are the basics of how our tools work. Before I jump into the practice scoring, I just wanted to pause and see if anyone had any questions as to how the software worked.
Not seeing any questions on our end right now.
Okay, great. Then we will just keep moving along. So I have essentially 3 practices for governance and 3 for community. If you all were at the onsite in June, this will look fairly similar, except now we're going to be using your data, which is great. So these are your 6 governance results. For this first exercise, we're going to be using the stewardship result. So the overarching definition for the stewardship result is embrace resource stewardship to mitigate risk and foster sustainability. We have the subheadings of resource stewardship, risk mitigation, long-term focus, and resiliency. The program that I've chosen to utilize across the governance results today is benefits administration. So the first question you can ask is, does the program benefits administration seem to influence most of these results? So we would first want to take a look at the program description. So benefits administration is the daily admin of all core and voluntary benefits, employee assistance, maintain HRIS, maintain vendor platforms, and employee communication. So my purpose in going through this practice with you all is not to suggest what a score should be, but to just kind of help walk through the process for if you get stuck or if you want to think about something in a different way. But I would say, if I was approaching this, I would first read through that program and its description, and then I would read through all of the definitions. And after I'd done that, I would say, okay, which of those definitions does benefits administration seem to have some influence on? I would say, after reading through the definitions, it probably has some influence over each one of those definitions under stewardship. And now it's my turn to determine what the influence is. So on that scale of 0 to 4, does it have, I've already said that I think it has some influence. So is that a minor influence, Is that an essential influence? And that would be the task that would be set before you as the subject matter expert for benefits administration for the influence it has over the successful achievement of the result of stewardship. The next, we're going to continue along with the same program. So benefits administration is going to continue through our governance practice. But now let's take a look at it from the communication and engagement side of things. So communication and engagement, actively communicate and engage to provide information and seek input on issues and decisions. So that's going to be the overarching definition with communication and engagement. The supporting definitions are communication, accurate and timely, secure, accurate, and accessible, and communication practices and mediums. So, in my opinion, benefits administration influences communication, accurate and timely, secure, accurate and accessible. I mean, there's an influence on 4 of these results. So it automatically scores a 4, right? Influenced 4 results, that equals a 4. So that's not right. We don't want to be that formulaic. What we want to do is assess where there is some influence and then determine what that influence is. So the question at the top of this page is, if the program benefits administration went away, would the city still be able to achieve this result successfully? Yes. I mean, to some extent, communication and engagement would continue if benefits administration was gone. But to what degree would that ability be stifled? So again, yes, it influences all 4 of those definitions, but now we have to again look at the level at which it influences the success of communication and engagement. So it's not a math problem. Just because it achieves or it helps to achieve in one definition doesn't mean it scores a 1. If it helps in 4 or more areas, that doesn't necessarily mean it's essential. Okay, let's take benefits and administration one more round, and let's look at high-performing org. So, high-performing organization utilizes resources and provides support for continuous improvement and development. What degree of influence does the program benefits administration have on the ability to achieve this result? So we're looking at development, invest in, support, and engage employees, provide necessary resources and information, and workforce, attract, recruit, motivate, and retain. So you may be able to tell just by reading those subheaders what the level of influence benefits administration may have on the successful achievement of high-performing organization, but sometimes it's not going to be that apparent, and you're going to want to go in and really make sure that you understand the definitions. And my best practice here would be for the first few programs that you score, you go through and you read those definitions out loud. You're not going to have to do that throughout the entire process, but just to make sure that sometimes when we say things out loud, we hear them differently than when we're kind of speed reading through. So just go through, read each one out loud, see if you can determine what the level of influence a program has. And as you become more and more familiar with the definitions, that will become less and less of a necessary exercise. Okay, moving on, now we're going to switch gears and we're going to look at the community results. So you'll see the 6 across the top, but we're going to focus first on infrastructure and transportation, which sustain and enhance city infrastructure to protect a high quality of life. Now, we switched from governance results to community results, so we need a new program, and we are going to use public engagement and communications. So if the program public engagement and communications went away, would the city still be able to achieve the result of infrastructure and transportation successfully? Well, let's take a look at the definition of public engagement and communications. employing a broad range of methods to inform the public and foster engagement about issues, services, events, and programs. Examples include social media, website, e-newsletters, video podcasts, publications, posters, billboards, on and on the government channel. So I think at my first glance at this program, it sounds like information being pushed out from the city to the community. So if we looked at the sub-definitions for infrastructure and transportation of facilities, transportation, infrastructure, traffic congestion, and management, I don't feel a whole lot of influence for public engagement and communications. However, when I went back and reread the description of public engagement and communications, it does say to inform the public and foster engagement about the issues. So is it through public engagement and communications that the city is able to respond to the needs of the city to sustain that high quality of life? So that's going to be potentially from the owner of public engagement and communications. When you go through and score this program, if you determine that there is a higher level of influence on infrastructure and transportation, in the comments, I think it would be helpful for you to explain how that happens. But it's also important to know that it's okay for a program not to score highly across the board. There is not a single program in your inventory that's going to score all 3s and 4s, and there's not a program that's going to score all 0s or 1s. What we are really trying to do here is to find the accurate level of influence on the successful achievement of a result. So don't be afraid of not scoring highly in all areas. It just may be that that program doesn't influence that particular result. But we are going to take public engagement and communications, and we're going to look at it now from the safe and secure community perspective. So the ability to sustain and enhance safety and security throughout the community to protect a high quality of life. So we have protection and enforcement, emergency response, safety presence, well-built safe structures, and safe transportation infrastructure. So again, from the description of this program, it sounds like communications that are being pushed out to citizens. So my guess is that there is some connection there with emergency response and potentially with the feeling of a safety presence. So could be through website or newsletters or signage or any of that, but what level of influence does the public engagement and communications program have on providing a safe and secure community? Again, just one more time, don't be afraid of an honest score. It's not going to make or break a program. You are going to be evaluating your program across 11 different areas, whether you're on governance or community side of things. So we got 6 results and 5 BPAs. So honest scores, it's going to make peer review so much easier if you, as the department subject matter expert, have already done that critical thinking. That will help out during the peer review process. Okay, one more on the community side of things. So we're going to take that public engagement and communications program and apply it to strategic economic growth and development to build an adequate framework for continued growth in a changing environment. So we look at diverse economic base, business attraction and retention, workforce development, transportation connectivity, amenities that attract businesses and workers, and purposeful growth. Well, all of this seems to me has something to do with public engagement and communications. It is through that public engagement and communications, through social media, through online media, through government channels, that people are going to be able to find out the information about the City of Lee's Summit to make decisions on where to live, where to work, where they want to be. So there's going to be some level of influence on the ability to achieve strategic economic growth and development with this program, public engagement and communications. Again, as you identify as the subject matter expert, how you influence that specific result, please put it in the comments. This, again, is going to be just invaluable during peer review. But if you know specifically some of the public engagement and communications that are out there to help with economic growth and development, go ahead and list where those things are so that as peer review takes a look at it, they'll be able to validate the score you've assigned. Okay, one final step of practice before we answer questions, and that is basic program attributes. So these are, again, I mentioned earlier on, these are slightly different from the other results because each value has a specific definition, and that definition doesn't cross over attributes. So basic program attributes can be very straightforward. On typically mandate and cost recovery are fairly easy to answer. Do we have to offer this service? Do we have any cost recovery for this program? Then we look at reliance, demand, and population served, and maybe there's a little bit more in-depth evaluation that needs to happen there. So let's first take a look at mandate and the associated definitions. So the program that we're going to use across the basic program attributes practice is emergency medical services. Now, what is the level of mandate to provide emergency medical services? We have 0, there's no mandate, all the way to it's a federal or state mandate. In between, there are some specifics, so city charter and ordinance, internal mandates. You can look through at the definitions, but that's going to be how you assign a basic program attribute score, is which definition does the program meet. So that's mandate. BPA scores are tied to specific definitions. Now we look at cost recovery. So again, to what degree is there cost recovery for emergency medical services? Our cost recovery definition for priority-based budgeting is limited to fees for service or grant funds that can be applied directly to a program. So we're not looking at taxes or anything like that. We want to make sure that the funds that are coming in you can directly tie them to a program. The way the definitions are set up here is what percentage of that program has some sort of cost recovery. So we go from no fees are generated, no grant funds, all the way up to 100% of the cost is recovered through external fees or grants. Now we're going to take a look at population served, reliance, and demand. These are slightly different from the first two because we're only going to use the scores of a 4, a 2, or a 0. So you can enter a 1 or a 3, but it will not apply when we get to our data tools, and peer review will not thank you for not making that final decision of a 0, 2, or 4. But let's first look at the definitions that are associated with population served. So for population served, in order to get the highest score, a program has to be available to and provided to more than 50% of the population. We're looking for something in the scoring comments to back that piece of information up. So we do need a data point in order for that score of 4 to probably survive a peer review. Score of 2 is available to more than 50%, but perhaps provided to less, and a score of 0 is available to and provided to less than 50%. As we think about population served and the different set of programs that we have, the community programs, the population is the constituents in the city of Lee's Summit. But the governance programs can also be evaluated against population served, but it's going to be the internal organization. So if we looked at a human resources program, if we even took that benefits administration program that we've already discussed and thought about how it served the population, my guess is the majority of the employees for the city of Lee's Summit are utilizing that benefits administration program. My guess is there's going to be a data point to support that. And so that could fall under that score of a 4 for population served on the governance side. If we go to the next one, which is reliance. So reliance is how we think about availability of a program outside of the program you're offering. So is there a potential for a partnership with somebody outside of the government organization? Or is there an opportunity to stop offering a specific program because somebody else is doing it and they're doing it at a lower cost and they're doing it more efficiently, and we could really use those resources that we've been applying to that program and put them somewhere else? So that is what we think of as reliance. So again, a score of 4, the city is the sole provider and could not be contracted with another entity, all the way down to the 0, a program or service could be contracted with somebody outside of the city. So, if we're looking at emergency medical services and we're talking about the fire department providing that service, is that something that the city is interested in looking to contract out? Yes or no? 0 would be yes, we can contract that out. There's 100 different private ambulance services that we are looking at for that type of contractual service. Or no, this is what our fire department, they do it the best, they do it the most efficiently. We are not looking at that as an opportunity. That would be a 4. And then we have that in the middle. It could be contracted, but it would be really difficult. So maybe that's worth the difficulty, maybe it's not, but that's going to be what you're examining for reliance. So do those you serve rely solely on the program that the city provides? And finally, we have demand. So 0, demand is decreasing. 2, demand is flat, or I don't have data to support the idea that it's increasing. And then 4, demand is increasing, and I have a data point to show that. So again, both with population served and with demand, we are going to require that data point to score a 4. So that's going to be in the comments section of your scorecard. Simply enter that data point to help support that score of a 4. Okay, that is the end of my practice for scoring. I did want to share with you how we're going to use these scores, and I know I mentioned peer review 100 times, and maybe some of you are unaware of what that is. So I have just 3 or 4 more slides, and then we'll have time for questions for the last 10 to 15 minutes. But the next step is peer review. And so you all, as we start with the department scoring, are the subject matter experts for your programs. When we switch over to peer review, we switch that focus and we assign cross-functional teams each to one result area. And that team becomes a subject matter expert for the result they're assigned. So they're going to review all of the scores for the entire organization that are applicable to their result. And they're going to validate whether the score is correct, or they're going to recommend a change in score. The third piece of that would be to potentially go back to the super users or the department to get more information. So if they feel like they're confused and they don't know whether to validate the score or recommend a change, they may come to the departments to get a little more information. So changes to a score are based on the team consensus on the understanding of the influence a program has on the success of that one result area. They are going to apply some practices to ensure that scores have been applied consistently. And when we get into peer review, we'll go through a training and we'll talk through those exercises in that training. And they're going to do a comparison of other programs that scored the same to determine if they all do in fact have the same level of influence on that particular achievement of result. So as you look towards peer review, please make sure that your program descriptions are both accurate and understandable. So if there are a lot of acronyms or abbreviations that others may not understand, please try to spell those out. Also use your program comments to explain why you chose to score a program the way that you did. That's going to be really, really helpful as you all, maybe some of you in this audience today are going to participate in peer review, and it will be really helpful for you. One other piece of information that I wanted to cover with you is, we're going through all of this scoring. What is this? How does this impact all of the final score alignment? So first of all, the department scores that you enter over the next few weeks are going to be supplied during peer review. The peer review teams are going to go through all of the scores that you've entered and determine whether they agree or whether they recommend a change. It is those peer review scores that go forward into the final score alignment. So all the work that you do during department scoring is incredibly important. Peer review is the fairness, consistency, validation of your scoring, and then we go into the final score alignment. So how are results weighted? Every LEAS Summit result has a weight of 3. All of the other BPAs have a weight of 1, with the exception of Mandate, which has a weight of 2. And I apologize that this looks so blurry. I'll get a cleaner one when I send the slides over. But what we do is we take the score that the program received in each area, and we multiply that by the weight for that particular result or attribute. We then look at the total possible score that a program could get based on the weight and the highest score that it could have received. We then take the total score received for a program and we multiply that by the normalized score, maximum score out of 100, and that's how we get the final score. So for this program, total score of 70, normalized out of this total 96 out of 100 to get the final score of 72.91. So then how is that applied in order to get the alignment? That is going to be, we'll do all of the final scores. We'll determine the average of all of the scores. And to be clear, we will have one set of alignment for governance programs and one set for community programs. So we will not have, for instance, accounts payable competing with special events for a quartile alignment. We want to have all of the governance results and programs aligned in that governance category, and we want to have all of the community programs aligned in the community category. So we find that average, we go one standard deviation up and down to get the boundaries for each quartile. Once we have that, this is what it will look like in our tools once all of the information is in. So you can see the boundary for quartiles 1 and 2 fell here between 71.9 and 81.3. Between 2 and 3 is here, and between 3 and 4 is here. So I just wanted you to have some basic understanding about how all of the work that you're getting ready to get started on is going to be applied as we go forward. Okay, I am done talking at you and am more than happy to stick around for questions. We are also going to offer an office hours on Tuesday, October 22nd at 1:30 p.m. Central Time. That is so if you all have specific questions about programs that you are having difficulty scoring or you are having issues in the software, please come with your questions. I will not have a presentation during that hour. I'm there simply to support you all and answer your questions during that office hours time. So thank you so much for your time today, and if there are any questions, I'm happy to help.
Questions? When will the users have access to the scoring module? Has that already been set up, Liz?
It should be available in the tools. I will jump over and check right now, but that should be immediate if it's not there now.
Just that I'm being told just the super users have it right now, so we'll need to set up.
Awesome. I'm going to do that right now while you continue to ask me questions.
Okay. Any other questions?
Okay, department users, simply refresh your login and you should now have that icon. My apologies for it not being available.
Any other questions?
Well, I will be available on October 22nd. In the meantime, Chris, any questions that come through the super users, just let me know if I can be of help.
Okay, we have one comment from Sarah real quick.
Liz mentioned it several times. I just thought I would reiterate that you can, I know some people have not been back in the tool for a while, but you can still make changes to your program descriptions. You can still update all of your costing if you go in and you start noticing some things. So you can still do that right now, kind of before you do your scoring. And I think we have about a month until the scoring's due. So if you go in and you're seeing any program descriptions that need some work or have acronyms in them, you can still update those.
Thank you, Sarah. And that is absolutely accurate. Please feel free to go in and take a look at your programs and descriptions. Should you decide to add or delete a program, that is absolutely fine during this stage. However, once we get to peer review, your peers will not appreciate it if you change the program inventory during that phase. So as you're going through scoring, if you do realize that you should combine programs or add programs or make any changes to descriptions, just try to get that done before scoring ends and we move on to peer review.
All right, I think we're good. Thank you, Liz, for your presentation.
Of course, thank you all. Good luck. I look forward to hearing from you and we'll be in touch.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.